Boom! Back. Squeeze the Neck podcast. Today with me, Richie J. Edwards. The J's important, right?
Yeah.
Shogun, New York Shogun.
Yeah, New York
Shogun. Privileged to be here today. Lovely Fulham Riverside.
Yeah.
With my guy. Invited us down, so God bless, man. Thanks a lot for having us. I really appreciate you. As we were saying before camera, don't know you before this. We've met a few times or whatever, but very grateful to have you doing this,
I appreciate you, brother. Listen, this is the next superstar here for podcast and watch.
You heard it from Richie. I didn't say it. This man did.
Watch. The guy's hustle is crazy. That's why I'm doing this.
We're trying, man. I appreciate you, man. So fresh off a training session as well. So again, got you all down here, all lamped up. But tell us about your martial arts journey, man. Before we get into it, where you're from, because I'm interested. You're from the big city, right?
Yeah. New York City, the Lower East Side, born and raised, famous. Lower East Side is famous for we've had like Basquiat, Keith Haring. Madonna grew up in the neighborhood.
All right, okay.
We had loads of different athletes and stuff. A lot of talent there, but the Lower East Side was rough, and it's part of how I got into martial arts.
And tell us when this was, because you look like you're about 25, but you're a bit older.
Yeah. So this is during like the 80s, late 80s, 90s. So I'm 43, by the way. So
boom. Would you believe it?
God shines on me. Whatever you believe in shines on me. So at the time, I said this before, I was just a good kid. And it all started from the first day they tried to rob me. I'm sitting...
good stories start.
Yeah. Any New York good story starts out with a robbery.
And how old are you at this point?
I was 9 years old, like 9, 8, going on 8. So I used to love to read. And I was reading The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I swear to you, that book brought me to England and everything else. So I'm on the Lower East Side. My people that will see this, anybody, the Lower East Side at this time was like a fucking war zone. It was beautiful because we had all types of stuff, but it was just, man, it was like the cops would, harass you. It wasn't like harass. We're talking about like beat you up, stick their hands in your pockets.
Really? Even when you're like 9 years old?
Yeah. So my mom had to watch me. So she's watching me because they were scared to let me outside.
And is your mom a New Yorker?
Yeah. My mom is New York. Yeah. My mom is Griselda Blanco, but the Puerto Rican version.
I got you.
Yeah. I got stories with her. She actually one time, she hates when I say this, but she pulled out a gun on a crack. On a crack at one time.
Serious shit.
Yeah.
Young age.
So I'll try to stay on full, but in New York, they used to call it like a jukes or come up. So the dudes on the benches that would sell drugs, the junkies would come get the drugs, and then they would go into the building and steal the money and not give the drugs. So they would come out through the back way. Now, all Latinos and blacks, we all look alike. So I'm coming out on my skates, and then the crackhead fucking pulls a gun out on me. Give me my money. And I'm like, I don't got your money. And then, long story short, my mom came downstairs and she winds up knocking them out.
Your mom does?
Yeah, my mom knocked them out. That's how
Mom's a tough woman.
Yeah, my mom is. She taught me how to look after myself, comb my hair, put cologne on, and fight. My mom is gangster as shit, right? But I get back. So I'm in front of the building. I got a skateboard, and I'm doing this, reading the book. And then three guys come up to me. And they was like, give me your skateboard. And then my mom just yelled out the window, and she was like, you motherfucker. She was like, fight. And I was just like, I didn't know what to do. I was stuck. And then they wanted to running away. And then I got upstairs, and then she was like, if you don't find these motherfuckers, I'm gonna hit you with the skateboard. And then I went to the back of the building. Actually, I'm doing therapy now, right? She was like, oh my God. I waited in the back of the building and just acted like I looked for them and stuff. But that was like part of like having to learn how to fight in martial arts. And then I tried to play American football one day, and I wound up breaking my wrist. And this is like all kind of during the same time. Broke my wrist. I ended up in the hospital, and I wound up going to the school. The school is Bellevue Hospital, so they had a school that you would go to. So I had to stay overnight because I had broken the growth bone. So they had to make sure it was good. And I seen this kid doing helicopter kicks over a bag in the hospital. Now I'm like, Bloodsport, Van Damme, this was during that time. And I was like, who the fuck is this kid? And his name was JC, rest in peace. And I think I always tell this story because JC was so instrumental, especially growing up when in a violent area or where you didn't know how to speak the language because you were kind of sheltered. Now you're in this world where you have to learn how to talk and socialize, but because you speak correctly or you carry yourself, you shake your hand, and now this is the hood, man. So it's like it was like sink or swim. So JC was one of the world's best black belts, and world champion karate kid. But he was also one of the toughest street kids. Like, everyone knew him. So he was like, let me show you how to do this. Now I'm chunky, but I got the sling and everything. I look funny as fuck. And bless him, like, he was trying to show me how to do this kick, and I was doing a kick like this. And long story short, I came out the hospital and he came to visit me and stuff, and I was like, I remember I think we went outside for like a walk, and I just remember like, yo, I got the toughest kid with me. Like, I was so proud. I was like,
and how old was JC? Is he your age?
Yeah, JC was like 12.
Oh, right,
like,
so you're 9, 10, he's like 12.
Yeah, he was 12, so he was older, like strong. He looked like a fucking, like Captain America to me, but a Spanish version and stuff. And it was just the pride and just like someone taking the time to wanna, and I guess this was the first introduction to martial arts, I guess, because he had the toughness, but then he had that character to then show love to somebody that was weaker or somebody that wasn't part of that same level, you know what I mean? Which I think is very important in martial arts, where it's to learn discipline and to learn humility. And for JC to have both balances, and this is now in a short period of time. So we're talking about like 3 weeks later, and he said, oh, I'm gonna bring you to the karate school. His sister comes knocking on the door and she's crying. And we're like, she's like, I gotta tell you something. He passed away. In 3 weeks, passed away. And so now, like, remember, I'm 9 years old. This is like my first real best friend. And like, and you're supposed to be, where I come from, we're sort of used to death, or used to people getting shot and stabbed and this, that, and that. I didn't realize that wasn't okay until I moved to this country. It's the funniest, it's the truth, because like, it was normal over here. Like, oh my God, you grew up like that? Yeah. And I remember going to his funeral and met Shidoshi Hector Santiago, Jennifer Santiago, the Santiago family, which Hector was instrumental in bringing a lot of the Metro team, which was one of the most famous karate teams. I believe even the Ninja Turtles used to train with us, the guys. So like the guys, the movie The Ninja Turtles. Correct me if I fact check me. I know some people are going to see this.
We'll take it as fact.
Yeah. And so I remember going to the funeral, seeing JC, and just like, but the overwhelming support and the love that I got from that community. But it was also the way my neighborhood was, where we stuck together. And I always believed that, you know, the village, we hold each other down. If you're hungry, I give you food. If you need clothes, we give you the clothes off our back, you know? So our neighborhood was known for that. But then coming into a martial arts community, it was wild. It was like, oh shit, this is, you know, I'm trying to register, this is JC in the casket. And then I'm like, now I'm meeting these people. So that was my first introduction to it.
Jesus Christ.
I don't think I've never had a soft intro to anything in life, bro. It's always been like,
well, that's a story in itself, man. We just started.
But I'm writing a book right now. I'm actually writing a book right now, and like, I think it's therapy to talk about some of these things and stuff. But sometimes, like, I get people on like social media that I'll tell a story, and not that people don't believe, but it sounds like a movie. Yeah. Like I remember there was a time where a kid pulled a shotgun out on me for my gold chain. And then it was funny because my man Popcorn, shout out Popcorn, he wound up saying something. He said, yo, remember when you beat the shit out of homeboy that pulled the gun out on you? And people were like, what? Oh shit, that was. And I was like, man, I'm blessed to have made it through. And thank God that I had martial arts, because it was either you used a knife, a gun, or you had good hands. And the Lower East Side, we prided ourselves for having some of the best fighters, and, you know, what they would call straighteners in this country. So I remember, in that story, I actually had the drug dealers put me to fight, because it was during the time that my father had passed away, so they knew that I needed to gain respect. So they, instead of making a whole thing where maybe this guy might get shot or killed or something, because it was that crazy growing up. Like, it was my family and people that knew me, they had love for me. So it was like, well, we can do this, but somebody's not gonna make it, somebody's going to jail. So, you know, they made me fight him, and that's another story. But yeah,
because we've got a lot to unpack here. You're still sort of under the age of 10 for most of these stories, right?
Yeah, still under the age of 10.
So how old was the gun story?
The gun story was 17.
All right, so we fast forward, so we've got a lot between there. And you said your dad passed away. How old was your dad?
17.
All right, so it's a hectic thing, but we're getting to So take us from
Sorry,
10.
guys, we switch sides like drunk drivers.
That's perfect. We go for it. Oh, this is perfect.
We might need a number 2 for this.
Yeah, we might need a 2, 3, and 4 by the sounds of things now. Before his 10th birthday, we've got a podcast. Jesus Christ. But so take us to JC's dead. You're only sort of 9 or whatever you said you were. You were at karate school before he died.
So then after that, then Hector Santiago then wound up inviting me.
And this is all karate at the moment.
So this was all Shotokan karate, like point fighting. And my next door neighbor, like my big brother Ricardo was best friends with JC. So it was just like, it all just kind of fell together. And then Ricardo, I knew he did. I don't really realize. I knew he did karate, but I didn't know how good he was. He was fucking good. So him and JC were like, the Double Dragon brothers.
And how old's your boy? Is he sort of 12 as well?
Yeah. So he was, I think maybe Ricardo was a little older than JC. Yeah, I think he was maybe like 2 or 3 years older than JC. Right. But they were best friends and stuff, and Rick knew their family and stuff. So I actually wound up going with Rick, and it was intense walking in, because it was like, it was real serious back in the days. It wasn't, if the neighborhood was serious, so was this. So when you walked in, it was like, it looked like Karate Kid on steroids.
And we're talking, what, late 80s at this point?
Yeah, so this is 89, 88, 89, 90. And yeah, even Jennifer Santiago shot his daughter. His daughter was on ESPN, and I think she was like 6. I think she was like 6 or 5. I remember them partnering me up with her. And like, well, I was just out of depth. My gi didn't fit me right. I just looked chunky and like a Care Bear, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
what was your tubby kid? Was you?
Yeah. I was chunky. Yeah, I was a little chunky kid and stuff. And yeah, I just remember always looking in the mirror, just thinking, am I supposed to be here? Like, but I knew I remember we did sparring or something, and I took some hard shots, but I would always get back up. Mm-hmm. And I think that just stood true with me. I always knew that I could take a hard shot, and I think in life, in fighting, anything you do, you got to be able to take the hits. You know what I mean?
Rocky said that, didn't he?
Yeah. You got to be able to take the hits. So I think that if you can weather the storm, the better days are on the other side. But you got to earn it. We live in a culture nowadays where everything's instant, where people don't think that it actually takes you time to build something, you know, which is, once again, why I said what made me want to do the podcast, because I see the time being put in, and I'm just like, yo, there's only but so much time that, you know,
time
you're gonna
is
be,
now.
You know what I mean? So, and it's all about consistency and putting in the work and having the passion, because the passion means that you don't care about getting paid, you don't care about anything else but getting across a message and bringing good people to the forefront to tell a story, you know what I mean? And the pieces of the puzzle, everyone that you have on, or everyone that talks has something to share. We all have something to give, regardless of whatever it is, you know? We may not be the fastest or the strongest, but you may be good at art, you may be good at this. And so I think we should all learn to embrace and appreciate people's specialness, because we're all supposed to be individual and not all supposed to be the same.
That's it, man. You know what? Since I've been doing this, I've had some amazing guests, and I've had, like, obviously mostly martial artists and whatnot, but I've had like a stand-up comedian. I've had a specialist smoothie maker.
That's crazy.
And it's mad. It's all like, but they're all the same. They're all the same sort of mentally.
Same mindset.
And it, like the comedian was talking about the whole like manifestation and positivity. And before I knew it, I was almost like, forget that. I just want to listen to him. You know what I mean? So I was mad. But you know, it's mental. The more you meet people that are on that same sort of mental journey, it doesn't matter what they do. But anyway, take us from karate, man. So, because you're from New York, so my brain straight away goes New York boxing, right?
Yeah. Oh, so boxing. So the boxing journey was pretty sick, because I actually started it because I got really good at karate and didn't want to really do my schoolwork. So my mom wound up taking me out.
Okay.
Yeah.
No more karate.
I couldn't stand it for that. Yeah. I tell her, nah. I'm like, you motherfucker.
Yeah. And was your dad into boxing and stuff? Or was
He was, but my dad was into everything in life. So my dad was into photography. He was a mechanic for AAA, which was like, that would pick up the cars and stuff. But he was also good with electronics. So like, he took pictures for like the homicide unit for the Daily News. And like, we always used to say he should have been a cop and stuff, but you know, when we grew up, you ain't supposed to be no cop. You know what I'm saying? But it's just like, he knew about guns. Like, he had cop friends, he would fix their guns and stuff like that. And so we always had information in the house, National Geographic, teach us about animals.
Full stop, guys, full stop.
That was the gun part.
We're still rolling. We're all good.
Hold on, let's put your bag there.
Let's put the bag there and we'll get back to it.
Bang! There we go. You got to use that in the bloopers and shit. Yo, so the guns are...
As soon as we talk about guns, the camera falls, but we're all good.
So my pops was into everything, like life-wise. So like, he just prepared me for everything. Like, he had, teach me about this, teach me about that and stuff. And then it was funny because he always wanted to protect me. He didn't mind the fact that I did karate and stuff like that. He liked it, but he wanted to keep me intelligent. So understanding how not to talk your way out of a situation, but to use your intelligence and how to deal, because growing up there, it's easy. I put my hands up, you pull a gun out. I can't box no bullets. So he always wanted to keep me in a very intelligent frame of mind, which was interesting because my mom was Scarface in a skirt. Like, she was like, kill everyone. You know what I mean? Like, I remember my first street fight that I lost, she brought me downstairs. And I remember the kid got high. I don't know what he was on some drug. And I just remember us standing up. She took my shirt off. It was almost like a movie. Get in the grass. That was always the thing in New York. Get in the grass. All right, the grass was slippery. I know I threw a punch, slip, some motherfucker sat on my chest. If I only knew jiu-jitsu at this age. And fucking, yeah, he just ran ground and pound. And I came up looking like this episode of Martin where he fought, I think it was Hearns. And he had the face this big. And I don't think I've ever told the story, but I came upstairs and my face was so fucked up. And all I heard was my dad, like, he got furious at my mom. And I just heard him click a gun. And he went upstairs and he found the kid that lived upstairs. He took the gun, stuck it in the kid's mouth, and it was like, I will blow your brain. And all I could hear was his family yelling, we know, we're sorry, we're sorry. And that's why he didn't want me to fight, because my dad he was the nicest guy. And he was, how can I explain it? You ever seen the movie Bronx Tale with Robert De Niro? Yeah. But my dad wasn't the bus driver you would knock over. My dad was the one that would actually, he would knock you out. He was 6'4", nearly like 300 pounds, you know what I mean? But was still like, I remember when he passed away, I had a big time drug dealer, old school, that gave me a story. And he was like, your dad he was a sleeping giant because he was very respectful. So he was like, one day I was on your floor and I was smoking angel dust, which is PCP. And I was getting high, but I was playing music really loud. Your dad came out like a gentleman. And he said, young man, you mind lowering down the music? My wife is pregnant. And I told your dad to get the fuck in the house. And your dad said, no problem, young man. He said, your dad opened that door so fast, and it took 2 steps. He stuck his 38 snub nose in my mouth. And he said, now get off or I'll blow your brains. And it was just like that. You always think all these stories with guns and stuff. But when you met him, he was peaceful. And it was to the point where, like, people would bring, he was called Uncle Richie. So you'd bring like your newborn baby, and they'd be crying. They'd leave him with my dad. And my dad would put them on the belly, and the baby would go to sleep. And so this was the contrast where it was like, we looked after each other, you know what I mean? And he was like, your dad threw my radio down the fucking stairways, and I remember never going to your floor again.
No more loud music.
No more loud music. So my dad was always the blend of, if you want a problem, no problem, but let's choose peace before we choose violence. Where my mom was the other way around, but it was a reflection of how she grew up, where she had to be that way. She had to, because growing up as a woman, you know what I mean? She was a street kid, you know what I mean? Parents weren't really there and stuff like that for her. So she grew up around some wolves, so she became a wolf. But she was like the most gorgeous. My mom's like, if you think Jennifer Lopez is hot, my mom's 10 times harder than Jennifer Lopez. Like, I swear, my dad died. Everybody's like, yo, your mother's all right. I was like, yeah, she's all right, motherfucker. Keep it moving.
And where was your dad from? Was your dad a New York guy as well?
Yeah. So he was African-American and stuff. So he was born and raised in New York and stuff. And then my mom is Puerto Rican, but she was born in New York. So Puerto Ricans that are born in New York were called New Yorkers.
Is that right?
Yeah. So Puerto Ricans don't really recognize us as being Puerto Rican.
All right. Yeah. And is that Spanish-speaking country, right?
Yeah.
So did your mum speak Spanish and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, she spoke Spanish. And my dad spoke Spanish as well.
Oh, right,
so that's how he got her, you know what I'm saying? He hit it with the,
hola,
hola, ¿cómo estás, mami? You know what I'm saying?
I gotcha.
And it's a cool story. I feel like we're going off on a tangent.
That's good, man. We got it.
It's just the stories, man. And people forget that I'm 43 years old, so I got all these stories in the chamber, and I'm living in a country that no one's grown up with me. So it's just like, every time someone asks me a question, it's just like, oh, do you really want to know? You got time, brother. But yeah, that was, to bring it back to my dad, he taught me about everything in life and stuff like that, and taught me how to be a man and a gentleman. But he never really wanted me to fight. It would have been interesting had he been alive to actually see me fighting professionally, like how he would have been and stuff. And I think that's one of the things I actually miss. I miss actually him coming to a practice and stuff. And it was a bit tough because I would go to practice and stuff, and you see all the other kids with their fathers there and stuff like that. And my dad was sick, you know what I'm saying? So for me, it was more...
What happened to your dad, if you don't mind?
Cancer.
Cancer. So he was sick for a while before he died.
Yeah, it was crazy. You know how old school men are. They don't go to the hospital, nothing. So 20 years to the day he was diagnosed, they removed a piece of a tumor out of his side of his face, and then they left a piece in there. So then over 20 years, and because he was a big man, you didn't notice any different. And it was one day that he just felt like it's a sensation of where ants are going up and down your neck. And I was just like, Pops, we need to go to the doctor. And then they wanted to tell him that he had it. But this was like out of sight, out of mind type of thing. It's just like once you kind of find out you're sick or whatever, it kind of like snowballs. And then ultimately, man, this is why people need support, because when people are sick or going through stuff, you need a good support system.
Yeah.
Because when he passed, I then was around people that had good support systems, just were, good positions in life. And so you get the medicine, you get the treatment, you get it was tough watching him fight that. But that's another reason why I won't give up, because he fought his heart out to the end. And I said, Pops, what keeps you going? He was like, you and your brother.
Damn.
So anything now, how can I quit?
And how old was he when he passed?
He passed, I believe it was 43. My age.
Young man, Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
that's
my
crazy,
age. Yeah, my age. It was crazy. So, so for me, I think one of the most important things as men, we always still need that elder to look up to and stuff. So even though he hasn't been here for, 20-something years, he's still my inspiration for everything that I'll do. And I always hold myself accountable and ask, is he proud of this? Is he, you know what I mean? So,
yeah, I got you.
You got tissue?
So let's file forward from there, mate.
Yeah.
So you obviously lifetime of martial arts. You're in England now. We're talking about New York and stuff.
Yeah.
Move us on to where sort of martial arts kicked in for you as sort of more of a lifestyle. And how did you come to England? Was it straight from New York to England?
Yeah. So shit, where do I start at? I've been trying to give you the condensed version of it. So after boxing and stuff, actually, my karate teacher, he was incarcerated. Long story. 30 years, and then came home. Or he was 30 years of age, and then I think he did 30 years. I think he did, but came home.
It's a fun time, isn't it? 30
so I
years
got
inside.
straight. But he was good. I say he's like militant, brother. So he came home. I got back with him. Started training again. It was almost like, let's bring the old karate school back. No one showed up. It was just me and my brother Nigel. And we felt the intensity of everything. Like, it was intense. But in hindsight, that intensity, having that intensity kept you focused, because it almost like you still need the dog in you. You know what I mean? Any martial arts or any competition. And I was showing up to places by myself. And especially England. If I tell you, first place they brought me to was Semtex Gym. So at the time, you had Jake Boswick, who fights in bare knuckle, and it was a Shark Tank. So Jake Boswick, Jason Young was there at the time, Charlie Boy Peters, and but they were Thai boxing more. They put me in the cage, and it was a Shark Tank, and put me on my back with Jake in my guard. Thank God that the floor was sweaty, and I was able to maneuver my way out.
Where was this? Where is Semtex?
Semtex it's in Swanley. It was in Swanley at the time.
Okay.
But bring it back to New York, I then started training with Sebastian Taylor, strength and conditioning. He was a brown belt under Renzo Gracie. And he was like, yo, you would be good at MMA. And so I was introduced to MMA from actually Ron Van Cleef and Hector Santiago used to train. Now, Ron Van Cleef is the black guy that fought Royce Gracie in his second fight in the UFC.
Okay, all right, wow.
So
okay.
as a kid, I was seeing Ron Van Cleef training for this fight and stuff, right? I'm like the Benjamin Button, bro.
It's a small world, yeah,
bro.
crazy.
Sorry, Forrest Gump. I'm Forrest Gump of the MMA world.
Yeah, I mean, Benjamin Button might be relevant.
Yeah,
Benjamin, the way you look.
Both, yeah. So that was the first introduction, and then maybe 10 years later, Sebastian Taylor, strength and conditioning, introduced me to Pride, and which was the Japanese, and Pride. I was with Crow Cop, Fedor, Rampage Jackson, and I just thought it was the greatest thing. I was like, oh shit, and he was like, yo, you can do this, like. And it's funny when someone tells you, believes in you, that's all you need. And it's why, like, whenever coaching or stay calm and give that information to someone when they truly can be great in themselves. And I was like, from him saying that, look at where I'm sitting at now. And that was all it started. From then went to the tryouts for the first UFC house for the lightweight.
Oh, wow.
And that was with Frank Mir. Frank Mir, and I believe, who was Frank Mir versus Nogueira.
Uh-huh.
And I remember going up to Boston, Massachusetts, and I remember didn't know any Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Dana White was sitting there at the table with Spike TV, and I had already went to Mark De La Grata's gym, which was Team Sit Your Tongue. And Mark De La Grata had Kenny Florian, Keith Florian, Wilson Hayes, Pete Spratt, Marcus Davis, the Irish Hand Grenade, Patrick Cote. I remember sparring Patrick Cote for the Anderson Silva match where his knee popped out.
Wow. And
so I was going up there, and because that's what all the UFC guys were at. So I was like, yo, UFC. And my LCL snapped. Because I didn't know jiu-jitsu, so I just pulled my shit out, and all it hurt was like a bat broke. And I was like, nothing hurt. And I was like, I went straight at it. And even Dana White came up to me, he was like, yo, you all right? And I was like, yeah, I'm good. Bro, when I tell you 30 minutes later, my knee was on fire.
Not so good.
But I wanted to go to the next round. So I duct taped my knee, and at the time, Kenny Florian also was there, Mark De La Grata, because they were pad holding, because they were doing the tie pads to see if you can actually strike. And I remember one of the instructors holding pads for me and going, listen, I'm gonna just make you look good. And so I pulled my shorts down and to hide the injury or whatever. And when they started calling the fighters, I had made it into the next room. But then for the top 30, for the actual breakdown of the 10 or whatever, and because I had no MMA fights, they didn't take me for the show. So had I lied on the application, they would have taken me. And I remember just grabbing Dana White, bro, and tears in my, because I needed to change my, I wanted to change my life, my family's. I'm from the hood, bro. Like, you got 100 people that need help. So I just remember going, I'll fight anybody in this room. And I started yelling it, and he was like, Spike denied the application. To the point where, like, I was trying to, let me see if I can find somebody that knows him. Anyway, I sat in front of the Marriott, and I remember there was a relationship that I was dealing with at the time that lived up there. So then with the injury, my job, I was working at the bank, and the bank, they let me go. So now I lost my job at the bank, my first real job. So I'm like, yo, do I start selling drugs now, robbing people? Like, because you need to make money, man. Like,
how old are you at this point?
At this point, I was around like 22, 23. So, yeah.
Okay.
So, but the bank job that was like my first real job. In my neighborhood, you know, it's funny when you become something in an environment, it almost becomes who you are. And then when you lose that, you then kind of lose your identity, because then you don't know where to go with that next. So then it's like, people knew that I could fight in my neighborhood, but we're talking about MMA. And at that time, all they thought was the first UFCs. They was like, there's no way Rich is doing that shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're gonna get killed. Not killed in any way, like your face is gonna get fucked up. So then I made a decision to stay in Boston, and healed up, started training out there, but it was expensive and it was far. Like, I just, first time me really leaving New York and living somewhere else.
How far is that, Boston, New York?
Boston's about like 5 hours, 6 hour drive.
So far enough.
Yeah, 5 hours of real far. And then, like, when you don't have a support system, so you had the drug dealers that I knew, but then, anyone that knows, once they're in your pocket, that's it. You know what I mean? They own you. So it's like, there was loads of people going, yeah, yo, listen, I'll look after you, I'll help you. I was like, nah, man, I've seen this movie before. Yeah. So then I wound up having to come back because just went broke, and to keep it 100. And then at the time I knew all the club scene. So in the club scene, a lot of them did jiu-jitsu or knew people that fought or whatever. So I knew, rest in peace, my boy Brian Vett. And Brian Vett was Renzo Gracie's, like, one of his top black belts. But I only knew Brian through the club scene. And once again, jiu-jitsu wasn't on the radar because we in New York now. We ain't trying to get on the floor and start grappling with people and stuff. But Brian used to basically look after all the thugs. And so we had respect for Brian and stuff. And so, but Brian knew another guy named Jay Silva. And Jay Silva wound up calling me and said, let's meet up. I went to Jersey to go meet Jay Silva. And he was like, we're going to go to a shoot box gym. I said, shoot box? Now, that was Vanderlei Silva, Anderson Silva, Shogun Hua, Ninja Hua. And I'm like, what, a shoot box gym? So I'm thinking these guys are going to... So it turned out to be Macaco, George Patino. So Macaco is the one who, Charles Oliveira, Plino Cruz, who's Alex Pereira's coach. So I'm training with these guys now. So he brought me to the gym, and he made me run a 5K. Before going to, now, if you know Jay Silva, this guy's a giant Brazilian, right? And somebody, he was juiced to the gills, like, man, he was massive. Maybe run 5K, or I think it was 5 miles or something before going to spar. And then we go in, we do stand-up sparring. Now, I'm nice with my hands, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's where I started from. And so I was just like, in my head, it's a street fight. So basically, it was almost like an audition for Macaco and all these other Brazilian guys. And then it turns out the guys that were there, Flavio Alvarez, 5-time middleweight bare knuckle MMA champ. So I was with the Brazilian guys you didn't hear about, but they were the scary guys and stuff. So then sparred him for like 7 rounds or something like that. And I just remember like, yo, just keep your hands up and keep going forward. And then Makako was like, yeah, come join the team, and this, that, and the third. And then I ended up being the boxing coach for him and stuff. And so that was my introduction to the Brazilians. So then I remember being in the training camp, and Charles Oliveira came and won the Ring of Combat, Lou Neglia's championship. And then he got signed to the UFC. From that fight there, Felipe Ariantes, another guy named Babuino, Volta. So this was like the cream of the crop of Brazil at the time. And then Plinio Cruz, who now is, is coach of the year for training Alex Pereira and stuff like that.
Because he was a serious fighter himself back in the day, right?
Yeah. So Plinio, but Makako, just to give Makako his props, Makako was the one who went up against like Pele Landis, which was which was original shootbox guys before he got brought over. And their matches were like 10-minute matches and stuff. So this was my introduction to, the Japanese 10-minute rounds, pride and stuff, soccer kicks. I even think at one point we had a few sparring sessions where there was no bare knuckle, where it was just like, we're going to do this like Brazil. And I was just like, yeah.
Just fighting in the gym, basically.
And then from there, being part of that team, I started training with them. And then there was a gym called Fight House in New York City. And Fight House was the most, before, because remember it was illegal, MMA was illegal in New York, which is why everyone was in Jersey, yeah.
Till 2016 was the first time it got okay, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. And then also as well, so I have like, I believe like 3 amateur matches that are pro matches, but because it was illegal, they had to say it was an amateur match.
Right.
So
you could fight amateur but not pro.
Yeah, it was
that
weird.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
it
made
weird
real
thing,
sense, right? So I'm trying to get this. So then from there, then was teaching, and then segue, teaching in Fight House. Laura Senko, who's the broadcaster, I trained. That was her first striking coach. Yeah, if you look at my Instagram, I got.
That's cool.
We took a picture. She's like, "Oh, let's take this picture." And so, like Laura Senko, I remember Fedor coming and training with Fedor when he came for like a private session. Yeah.
Fedor. And what was that like? We got to stop here. We got to talk about Fedor, because how big is he for starters? Because he looks small for a heavyweight, but he's still a heavyweight.
I tell you what, I got a video of me and John Jones sparring, and John Jones was bigger than Fedor.
Yeah, I bet.
Fedor wasn't that big in person.
How tall is he? 6 foot, something like that?
Yeah, about 6 foot, maybe like 6 foot and stuff. On TV, when he's fighting all the monsters in Japan, he seemed massive. Like when he got powerbombed by Kevin Randleman.
Yeah. And tapped him a few seconds later, didn't he?
But then when you see him in person, he didn't look like much. No. But then when you see him throw the punches, just scud missiles, his very Russian type of style, the way that they curve their punches at the end, sort of the way Bivol fights. And but calm, very collective and stuff. And I remember it was like a light movement and stuff with the intensity, you know what I mean? And the fear, I felt fear because it was like watching him on TV. Like I've sparred like Machida.
Yeah.
And like Machida was very calm and composed. And Machida actually would throw stuff and wouldn't touch you. But he would go, just get close enough.
Just let you know.
Yeah, but I think it was because of my size. I was small, but then they would bring in. So I was around his camp when he fought CB Dalloway.
Okay.
And so I remember flying to Team Black House, training with Pedro Munoz.
Where's this at? California, right?
Yeah, California. And them being specific. All the top guys I've watched, they trained, so they put cones. He couldn't move besides the cones, and then had to throw that kick that he finished CB Dalloway.
I've seen this. This is on YouTube. You can watch this shit.
Yeah. And so he just did the cones going side to side, and they brought in really big wrestlers that were Thai boxes. And then he was kicking, but the way he was kicking was with his toes into the liver. So then as he's kicking, that's what he was doing. So he wasn't hitting with the flat palm of the foot. So it was quite interesting.
So like Karate Kid style, like
yeah, very
him.
Karate Kid style.
But if we just step back to Fedor, like what was that like with him, Fedor Emelianenko? Because this would have been like his prime years, right?
Yeah, this was his prime.
Was it obvious that he was great up close?
Yeah. He was calm. He was controlled. I just remember the New York City, the gym being flooded. Everyone trying to get into the gym to come see him. Very respectful, very humble. Didn't say much. And then when he did smile, it was like lighting up the room because he was so like this monotone look. But very much a serious man, but you can tell there was a sweetness to him. And I think to some of the most like serious fighters, they have that double-edged sword where they can switch it on, which is scary. You know what I mean? But as anybody that has that, it's what martial arts is discipline. You know what I mean? You're gonna walk around being upset, you know, rear naked, choking people or kicking people.
You ain't got the energy, right? You're training too much anyway.
Yeah, 100%. But it's also, there's something characteristically wrong with you that you need to fix, or you need therapy, because that's not the way life works. It's about being humble and being kind to people. You know what I mean? And martial arts was made to protect, you know, and help the weak,
yeah,
so to speak, or whatever. But yeah, that was pretty interesting. But through Makako and all the guys, I was representing them, running classes there, and then, you know, and then even fucking Angela Overhill Kill, I was in her first class. She knew nothing.
First ever class, first training
ever
session.
class,
Yeah, wow.
and it was Brandon Levi that has a gym in New York. He's amazing. He was Craig Jones before Craig Jones was out.
Right?
Yeah,
Okay.
you know what I mean? Proper Australian, funny, said shit that you should get arrested for, but he just got away with it. And I remember her doing his class.
Is she a New Yorker, or is she? She's from New York?
I believe she's from New York. I remember holding pads for her, but we never exchanged. But I just remember watching her when she knew nothing, and now to fighting. And she came to GB Top Team, was training with the girls, and it's
That's cool, man.
like fuck, like. So it's once again being the Forrest Gump of MMA to see people's journey and stuff, and this is why when I see something, I go, yo, I've seen greatness before. I've seen people go from this to then blow up. And it's just cool to see and stuff. So through Makako, that happened. And then how I ended up in England was, I remember Makako, I had a fight booked, and then he got an offer for a big gym in Houston, Texas. And so then he wound up going. And then I've said this on a podcast before, this is when I met my ex-wife. And so that's how I came over here. And so then this is when my father-in-law, her pops, he knew Chris Gregg, who was part of Team Titan. And that was Brad Pickett, Ashley Grimshaw, all the boys, all the Titan boys. And so that's how I ended up over there with them.
Damn, and you stayed, obviously.
Yeah, I stayed. I was just like, he was like, what? New York's so great. I was like, yeah, I don't want to get shot at no more, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it was time for a change. It was like, New York's amazing, like, but it was just like, when you see everyone evolving and stuff, I just felt like it was the natural progression for me to come out and try something different.
Nice, man. So take us through your MMA career, man. Like, how many fights have you had as a pro?
12.
12 fights as a pro.
Yeah.
I said to you before off camera, I said, like, you're still fighting, and you looked to me like, hey, I still want to.
Yeah, 100%, because it's like, I'm not beat up, man. I'm like, I see some dudes that, you know, either I used to train with and stuff like that, they move a bit slower and stuff like that. It's just, you have to be consistent and you have to respect the game, right? So then I figured, I said, how did I lose most of my fights? And it was submission, right? So it was just like, it wasn't that I wasn't good enough, it was putting together little pieces. So I said, let me then start training more jiu-jitsu now and stuff like that, you know, but in the gi, because I never had the time for it. So now that I have time, I said, let me just take a step back, because if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen and stuff. I've been striking all my life, so for me, striking isn't a problem, you know. And then, you know, daily shadow boxing, working on little tools, and I'm always working. So, and for me, it's always, you know, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. So if an opportunity came my way and it was like, yo, you wanna fight a big fight or something? Yeah, I'll take it and stuff.
Yeah.
So I do wanna compete in jiu-jitsu competitions, and I will. So just focusing on that, but yeah, I still feel good. It's just, as not a young person that has a lot of time in their hands, you have to earn a living. And I think some of the top guys that I came up with, it was the same for them. Now there's all these opportunities now, you know what I mean? Where, like, you know, the sponsors and stuff like that, like, there wasn't really much of that back in the days, you know what I mean? So, you know, it's nice to see some of the guys from back in the days get opportunities now, because they fucking deserve it, you know what I mean? But yeah, 100%, I would still fight under the right circumstances and stuff like that.
Boom. And what's your ideal weight class to fight in?
I would say 66, but
Which
70,
is 145 pounds, yeah?
Yeah, 145
Featherweight.
pounds, but 70. I think 70 would be ideal, because I wouldn't have to cut much weight.
What do you walk around at?
I'm at 77 right now.
Yeah, okay.
But if I go to 66, it would be about, I would have to probably bring in a nutritionist, because I don't want to be drained during the camp.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's back in the days, a lot of us were fighting dehydrated. A lot of us were training with injuries and stuff. And because you were dehydrated, your body's more fragile. So when you get knocked, you feel the knocks, as opposed to when you have a bit of weight, plus energy levels. So a lot of times you see guys sit out on the round and stuff, and it's because they're tired. And sometimes you'll force yourself, and we know that, you know, oh, be tough and stuff. One more round, that one more round. I've seen injuries after injuries where it's like, that's boom, where you should have just sat out. And so now it's about being smarter, just having, you know, and for me, I think having a healthy camp, putting together the little bits and pieces, yeah, why not, man?
Yeah,
I think a brother could then have a good, because the thing is, I've always been a sleeper, man. People always overlook me, bro. I've always been the underdog my whole life, so it's just like, okay. Yeah. I feel like I look young and still operate that have that youthfulness for a reason. So whether it's to inspire the world or to have another fight or compete jiu-jitsu at a high level, I'm all for it. I'm not just attached to one thing, because I feel like now you have to be open-minded and stuff. And like, you see when people are on that path, you see it blossom fast. Mm-hmm. For others, you know, you have to accept sometimes. Maybe it is for you, maybe it isn't for you. But there's always a place for you. You know what I mean? So I think that the hard work doesn't go unnoticed. You know, whether it's me telling stories, making people laugh, inspiring people. But 100%, the dog in me is still there, man.
Still in you.
I'm excited just talking about it now.
Yeah, I can see it. You're like buzzing off of it.
Yeah.
So if we go to look at a training camp, because I've spoken to loads of different people on here now, and they will talk about like what's ideal for a training camp.
Yeah.
Like, so if you've got, let's say we've got a fight coming up, mm-hmm. you got a great fight, you're ready to go, weight's right, whatever you want. How long do you want beforehand, and what does a training camp look like for you? How do you train for it?
I think a training camp would be about like 8 weeks.
Yeah, nice and short and sharp.
Yeah, I think a good training camp for a decent opponent. I think for a high level opponent, you would need to bring in the coaches to make sure they're breaking down. I personally think breaking down tape, breaking down your opponent, knowing what they do well, knowing what they look like when they get tired, because at the high level, if you want to be at that high level, there's no more taking chances. Back in the days, this is what we did. This is why there's a lot of great fighters, especially in England, that have a lot of losses because they took any fights. Who you fighting? Yeah, I'm fighting this guy. I remember fighting Sean Wright in Scotland. Sean Wright was fresh off the Thai boxing contender show. Who did he lose to? What? Yotsin Klai, Sanchai. Like I had dudes in Kettle's gym going, yeah, I would have taken that fight. I said, now you tell me this shit. But in my head, I'm just like, yo, I'm fucking from New York. We gonna get, you know what I mean? When now it's intelligence, you know what I mean? So as long as I think for different opponents, you need to have different approaches. Unless your camp was already specified and matches that opponent there. And it's all about self-belief and making sure you're prepared. You never disrespect your opponent, never disrespect yourself, because I've seen some of the greatest guys have the greatest camps and get knocked out in 5 seconds, and their sparring partners were like ranked #1 in the world in striking, you know what I mean? Or the same thing for jiu-jitsu. So I think making sure that you're healthy, making sure that you're not overtrained, which is important, because you want to be able to have good rounds and be pushed, but also learn. Because people are forever evolving, and I think to stay ahead of the game, you have to constantly learn good techniques, you know? So I think that would be important. And do what you do good, but then also work on the positions that you might get in trouble in, which should be customary, but I think be creative. You know what I mean? One of the things that makes John Jones special is because he was creative and doing stuff that everybody would complain about, like the oblique kicks, you know, or like, you know, he would hold his hand in a certain position. And I just remember when I had met him and standing in front of him, he was very flowy. It was very flowy and very relaxed, and so he was willing to try different things. And the same thing like Anderson Silva. And if you look at like GSP, like their creativity to change things up, it threw you off. So, you know, you just didn't realize until it was over that what they were doing. So I think having fun, train to your personality, and make sure that it's healthy. Make sure you're healthy.
That's a great point. It's training to your personality. You hear some great people talk about. Danaher spoke about that, and I think it's important, isn't it? You know, 100%. And I think there's too many people. And I'd like your opinion. Is like there's too many people in martial arts, especially, but all sports really. I think to a degree, is like they train the way the coach tells them, as like a one-size-fits-all, right? And it's like you have to do this way. This is the way. Mental toughness, all this shit that's like antiquated now. Isn't it? You know what I mean? It's like we don't need that shit anymore. We're past that. And I think the reason I ask you as well is like when we talk about training camps, I want to find out how often you train, because I think the days of training 3 times a day and being yourself down are gone too, aren't they? I think people are getting smarter than that.
Yeah, 100%. And like I said, we would, I think when I say we, because there was just a lot of guys do, we were all doing it. We would, so at the time, I'll give you like, back in the days when I was at Team Titan, I would travel 2 hours to Team Titan and then sparring session. So it's like maybe like an hour and a half, right? I'm exhausted. Like, I mean, I'm talking about, I remember sparring middleweights and light heavyweights because there was no, I remember, there was no weight classes. We didn't spar. I remember watching Brad spar somebody 10 times his size, and I'm just like, yo, dude's a
Brad Pickett.
Yeah, Brad,
who ended up fighting at flyweight as well, right?
Yeah. I remember it was fucking when he was training for Demetrius Johnson. Like, it was, Brad's wicked, man. Like, you know, shout out to my team, GB Top Team. And Brad, I've known Brad for so, he's like family, and Brad is, just the most passionate guy. He gives everything to everyone that he can. And man, he was a force to be reckoned with, man. I remember legendary, I feel like the sparring sessions that we used to have back then were harder than some of the fights that I've had, because it was like, yo, we was going to like kill each other. Yeah. I remember people yelling, knock him out. And I'm like, oh, word?
Yeah. Brilliant, yeah.
And so like training, sparring, then I was working at Kettle's gym, Alan Kettle. And so I would travel 2 hours to go to Kettle's gym, stuff my face with like the most horrible food. I think I remember having McDonald's or something.
Just to get it in.
Just to get it in, I'll be bloated. And then to have to throw my stuff off, to then jump in and then have a pad session, because part of working there, you get a pad session, but you had to get it when it was available to get it because you weren't paying for it. So then I would jump off the train, run, change, want to throw up, and then fucking an hour pad session, run really quickly, shower, change, hold pads for 5 hours. And then I remember Jude Samuel used to run classes at 9 o'clock at night. And then after 5 hours of that, then go train with Jude. And then Jude would, you know, I'm rolling with Jude. Like, Jude's like Mauricio Gomez's first black belt. And Jude used to put it on me like a fucking blanket. Like, and I'm just like, just trying to survive. So it just felt like survival mode. And because you thought more is, I'm outworking them. And it wasn't, because the quality, remember, your body has to absorb. It's like if, like I tell my clients that I train, with nutrition, you have to chew your food so your body can break it down and absorb the nutrients. The same thing with training. If you're constantly blunting your adrenal glands and your energy, your receptors, you're never receiving anything. So then what happens in the fight, you go into this defensive mode and almost panic. I've seen guys panic. I'm like, well, they trained so hard. How did they lose the fight? The other guy was more relaxed. The other guy probably didn't. The other guy said, oh, I took the fight in 2 weeks. So he didn't have the extensive where he was overtrained and stuff. So what you said is 100% right. It's just like, for me, I think less is more now, the quality over quantity. Where, let's say you see a guy that's supposed to be, you know, I don't know, a blue belt or something. And then it's just like, but you still haven't learned how to knee cut properly, and you freeze up. So that means you haven't put the time, or you haven't absorbed that. So I believe you stay on that technique until you actually develop it. Mm-hmm. And before fighting, you should have a basis. And I think any coach should read the room where they go, okay, they need this. Where not just throw, yeah, you can do it. What the fuck is that? Yeah. Suppose somebody gets killed one day or gets injured and stuff. I've seen, in this country, I've seen, what is it, you got, white collar?
Yeah.
I've seen a white collar match where the girl got her orbital broke, and turned out the girl that she fought had pro fights.
She's not a real white collar. It's dangerous, isn't it? You got to be so careful with that.
But the girl got hit, dropped down to one knee, was like this. They picked her up, put her in the corner, and they said, you'll be all right. And then
she went all right.
Couldn't be my sister, bro.
Yeah.
I'd have burnt the building down.
Yeah.
You know, so it's about, for coaches, reading the room, and it's not a one size fits all. Everyone's different. The way you would train me, the way I would train you, it's like if you meet someone that's aggressive, they can move forward. Someone that is defensive, they're usually counter fighters, so they wait. So then you develop that skill set, and then over time, as they get solid in that, and then you improve them on the next level.
That's it. Because I'm a big believer as well. I mean, if, you know, obviously you want to get the right amount of training in, but you're better off undertraining than overtraining, right?
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
overtraining, you're overcooked. I've been in there before, flat and just
absolutely.
I don't want to be here.
Absolutely.
Whereas at least if you're undertrained, you've still got the oomph, you still want to fight and all that, and it's different to me. But nowadays, it is coming around to that. You see some of these guys, and some of the guys I've trained with, especially in jiu-jitsu, and boxing a little bit too, but especially jiu-jitsu, I won't say any names, but you know who you are. They're almost a bit lazy. But they're so successful in competition because they've got that mindset. You said they get in there and they're kind of like, whatever, you know.
Whatever.
And on the mats, they sit there, they sit on the side. But then when they train, they might only do 3 or 4 hard rounds. But they're good rounds, man.
Good rounds,
and then they're finished.
And
the guys that come in doing 15 rounds, they're overdone, aren't they?
And then they'll try to show up the next day and they try to replicate what they did, and it's like it just doesn't happen. No. And it's funny that you say that, because I'm like that now, where it's just like, bro, as long as I get them 3 or 4 good rounds in and I intentional.
Yep.
So when I go into the gym, my intention is to work on something. So whether it's, you know, working on the jab, working at hitting it from another angle or passing the guard or new submission, first I break the pieces down where going from that part there to then let's get, just get there.
Yep.
And then as you get there, then your mind is able to chain link. So now half the work is done. But then also it gives you something to look forward to. Where it's just like just showing up. I remember it was always sparring. And it's just like, well, where's the actual learning and stuff like that?
And it's got to be fun too. Training's got to be fun. If you're having fun training, you're learning. Do you know what I mean?
Like a kid, right?
100%.
If you ever see a little
100%.
kid playing a video game, watch how he or she just like, and they're zoned in. Why? Because some people receive information, I think personally, better when you're in a relaxed state.
100%.
You learn about life.
And you want to be there too. So it's more. And I like training. I like learning one thing at a session. Teach me something. And that'll do. And I'll just work on that. I don't need 17 things because I forget them anyway. So.
And then what happens is those 17 things will go out the window, and then like you'll have someone like, that has a simple style yet effective and beats everyone because they're following the foundation and the structure.
100%.
They may get a bit creative, but they're following the, it's just, I guess like in terms of jiu-jitsu, like, because I'm thinking everything is fast, wrestling-wise, MMA, scrambles, you know what I mean? You want to be exciting because you're always told that. No one likes a boring fighter. But then in jiu-jitsu, it's about let them carry your weight. When you get a spazzy person, all right, cool. I'm just going to squeeze you to death, smash and pass, and then I'll get a bit funky with it. And I'm just like,
cook the beans,
that's it. I always say you got to season the beef before you sear it, you know what I mean?
But it's like, if you go in MMA like Khabib style, everyone knew what's coming. You can't do nothing about it because he's so good at it, you know what I mean? And I think there's such a power to that. There's such a, get good at one thing.
100%.
Because the new age, or not maybe new, if we go back a few years, it was very much like people was all excited, oh, these kids are doing MMA from the jump now, so they're going to be great. Whereas to me, I don't think so. You're better off coming from a background. It doesn't really matter what your background is to me. As long as you're great at it, and you can get your opponents to it. And you're, mediocre's the wrong word, but you're able in all the other areas. That to me is the way to go.
100%, because like you said, when it comes to enjoying it, you're then so strong in that belief and that skill set, you're unstoppable. It's like with Conor. Like, Conor wasn't the best, but you know what he's great at? Fucking self-belief. He willed himself into the position and then took what he was good at and made you think he was good at everything else.
And people can say what they want about Conor. If you look at the Eddie Alvarez fight, in particular,
oh my God,
one of the greatest performances.
Side note, Eddie Alvarez
Monster.
was a fucking force. I'm from New York. We used to hear about Eddie in Philly. And I heard about Eddie in Philly through street fighting. That he was a beast in street. Even like Masvidal. Masvidal was fucking I got family in Miami. In Dade County. He was a beast there in the streets with Kimbo Slice and all of them. So Eddie's no slouch whatsoever. The way Conor ping-ponged his fucking head and just like Conor was on another wavelength, but I think that's a mental thing, man. When you can elevate yourself to that point. And Eddie's like he's the giant slayer. There was nothing that he could have did to Conor that was gonna matter that night.
And I've spoken about this on here before. Like, there was a moment in that fight, Eddie Alvarez booted his leg. And Conor sort of buckled, but his expression on his face didn't even change. He just kind of stood back up, just floated towards him. No, he weren't gonna lose that night. Do you know what I mean? There was something special that night. I mean, if it had Khabib in front of him that night, it might have been a problem. But do you know what I'm saying? It's like that night he weren't going to lose.
No, definitely not.
And I think there's something to that. Like, he was so good at striking. He was. I mean, I think he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu now. Maybe not. But maybe he is. I don't know. But like, it's one of them. Innit? He didn't use his jiu-jitsu. He didn't need it. He certainly wasn't a black belt then.
No. It's like Esparza having a black belt.
There you go. Because we're going to get onto him.
Shout out, Plino.
I feel like I mentioned Pereira every time because I just think there's something special going on there too. But. Yeah, well, we can jump into it now. Why not? You've been around. Well, sorry, he's coach.
Plino, so I've been around Plino.
I know who you're talking about. The tattooed guy with the blonde hair now.
I was actually the one that got them into Rogers when they did that.
Is that right? Yeah. Because that's a special guy as well, Pereira, right? And I keep talking about him. So comment and tell me shut up if you want. But as long as you comment, it's all good. There's a lot going on there. There's a lot because with that situation, he's obviously at light heavyweight. There's a load of noise going on at heavyweight. He's big enough to do it. I want to see him. He's talking about going to middleweight. I don't want to see it.
Nah. Was it Duplessis?
Duplessis just beat Izzy. So as we're recording this, we're just after that fight, right? We're less than a week past that fight. So Did you watch that fight, by the way?
No, I just saw highlights.
To
be honest with you, I don't really watch fights the way I used to.
Okay.
Unless it's like a specified one where I feel like I'm going to learn something
I got you.
I used to be so obsessed with it.
Yeah.
I would stay up all night, fucking 3 a.m. watching the fights, where now...
Nah, you got to get up, bro. Because in UK time, I go to bed early. I'm a bed at 8 o'clock and I get up at 4 to watch the fight. I can't do that staying up.
I'm 43, brother.
I can't do that shit. I got to go to bed. Yeah, I'm going to sleep. I'm not staying up. But so that fight, obviously, I was... with that one, I thought du Plessis would win. I'm not trying to be smart after the fact. I thought he'd win, but I wasn't confident about it.
What made you think he was going to win?
I just think Izzy's at that point where it's a bit. And I don't even think necessarily he's on the slide physically.
Nah.
I just think, like we were saying about the belief thing. I think now people have gone. He's beatable now. Like we can beat him now. And again, it's not a critique on him, obviously. But he's lost 3 of his last 4. Or 2 of his last 3 before that one, right? But it was like. He's beatable now. Do you know what I mean? And I think the style, it's his time. Du Plessis, the whole thing. I wasn't that confident. If Izzy like flip kicked him and finished him, I wouldn't have been surprised. Do you know what I mean? But it's like with Du Plessis, I think that style has got a lot to say about it, innit? Because if you look at his strikes, like a kickboxer, I'm sure would look at it and go, Jesus Christ. But he's still beating Izzy, who's like an elite kickboxer, and he's making it work for him. So it's all tying into what we're saying. But to me, he's a big problem for a lot of people. I think he lost to Sean Strickland, but that's a side note.
I think he lost. I did see that fight. I think he lost to Sean Strickland.
I think he lost to Sean Strickland. I want to see him fight again because I'm a big fan of Sean Strickland. We could go all day. We're jumping all over the show. But anyway, so if we bring it more specific, Pereira lost to Izzy is what I'm getting at. I got to think a lot of that was the weight cut because he's beaten before. And I think at light heavy, if they fought at light heavyweight, how do you think that fight goes? Izzy and Pereira.
I think Pereira wins.
I think easy.
I think Izzy wins. Yeah, I think Izzy. He did work. He said he planned to catch him with that punch, and I think anyone can be knocked out. But like I said, I think it was a perfectly planned punch.
Yep.
And because Pereira's a different animal, he's one of these guys. I don't think he cares whether he wins or loses.
I think he's a special cat. Isn't he?
He's a special character. His self-belief and physically, he's built for it.
Yeah.
Watch when he gains weight, it's almost like his bones seem like it gets a bit thicker. Everything just gets that, like, turns up. But because he's been doing it for such a long time, I don't think he's beat up.
No.
You know, and I think that, I just think his mindset, I think there's a special aura about him. Everyone's beat. I mean, Izzy did catch him.
Yeah.
But then look how many times it took.
Yeah, and I just think the way he caught him, great.
Yeah.
No, you can't, but it's like, if that was at 205, or I think his chin would. I think it bounced off him.
Yeah, I think would have ate it.
Do you know what I mean?
I think it would have ate it.
But because he nearly went out in the first, or the third fight, but the first MMA fight with Izzy, right?
Yeah.
The first round, he got dinged. If that was a couple of seconds longer, he was done then. But he found a way. But sorry, we're going around in circles. But Pereira, I don't want to see him go to middleweight and fight Du Plessis. Do you?
No, I don't. I think he's done. I think he's done there. I mean, if he wants, I think it seemed like a joke, almost like he wants to avenge Izzy.
Yeah.
Because I think he has so much respect for him.
Yeah. But to me, just make Du Plessis come to you.
Yeah, I would actually like to see Pereira and Tom Aspinall.
We're going to come to that.
Yeah.
We're going to come to that.
That's the fight I want to see.
But before we do it, light heavyweight, he's fighting, the fight everyone's saying is Ankalaev. Now, it's not happening because he's fighting Khalil Roundtree.
Yeah.
Which to me is a good fight while it lasts, but I don't think it's going to last long. I think it's a good fight. I don't think it's going to last.
It's funny actually. When I was, I actually got a picture. I'll show you that I cut weight with Khalil Roundtree.
Oh really?
Yeah. I got him. He's doing the
Is he a big guy? Because he looks jacked as fuck.
He's a big guy, but Pereira's bigger than him.
Because he's not. I would imagine. You tell me. How tall is he? He's 6 foot-ish.
Yeah. I think Pereira's just slightly taller than him.
I mean, Pereira I think is massive. There's photos of him with Tyson Fury. He looks like he's about 6'5" or something.
Insane. Roundtree has a puncher's chance. His story I identify with.
Because for anyone who doesn't know, he was a big, massive, fat guy when he turned his life around, blah. And now he's like.
I think his pops as well. I think he lost his pops.
Oh, is that right?
Like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like when you watch him hit, when he hits, it's almost like he's making everyone pay for what he went through. You know what I mean? And he's fixed his skill set. It's almost like. How can I say, who's a good example for the viewers? Canelo. When Canelo fought Billy Joe Saunders.
Yep.
Billy Joe Saunders' movement, fucking wicked movement. But how long can you keep that up before Canelo finds you? Yeah. You get what I'm saying? You need 12 rounds of that type of footwork and that movement, solid. Yeah. And then before you get caught, what did Canelo? He timed him with that fucking uppercut, that fucking
broke his face,
broke his face.
Yeah.
And Canelo's not really big.
No.
But watch Canelo. It looks like he's throwing nothing on them bags.
I don't think it's too natural either, Canelo. What do you think?
Oh man,
Canelo, if you give it over under, as he took some supplements in his life?
I'm trying to figure out. Maybe he did, but I'm trying to figure out what he took that doesn't, because he doesn't show anything.
Yeah.
Like, listen, in this country, steroids was rampant, bro. I was in gyms, we won't name no, but they was putting shit on the table. Oh, yeah. Like, I was like, what the fuck? Yeah. I was like, I only thought steroids was a white people thing, like in America, like high school. Like, come on, Bob, do the steroids and shit. And then I'm like, watching this dude, like, fucking take this and take that, and I'm like, because like I've seen dudes take like Anavar, right? In
that
MMA.
Was the big one when I started, like, that was Anavar.
But Anavar, what does it do? It gives you a massive pump.
Yeah.
What do that pump needs? Oxygen, right?
Because when I did it in England, like, I've never done it, but when I was around it in England, it was in gyms. Like, I come from boxing. In boxing, like, people didn't even take protein powder at the time.
That's what I'm saying.
So like steroids wasn't even in the,
I never seen steroids in a fighting gym.
Never seen it in a fighting gym here at all. But like I started being a PT at 19, right? I was in gyms with like bodybuilders who were like in their 30s, and they're all on it, and they're like asking me like, oh, would you? Because I was really lean from boxing. They say, oh, would you take to get lean? And I was like, mate, I'm 19. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Take anything, you know? But it was right. Anavar was the one I always used to hit.
Yeah. And it's because I seen guys fight on Anavar, and it's just like that second round they would lose because they couldn't move their arms.
Oh, is that what it does? Okay.
Yeah, because so Anavar is vascular. So what it does, it gives you pump. It pumps blood into your muscles. So as you're working out, you know, the protein and everything, the water, it hydrates you ridiculously, and it actually, I don't know the synthesis in terms of cellular level that it does, but it does something where it helps to actually, it gives you this extra strength.
And what does that do? Drop off a hill, like in the second round? You just fall off a cliff?
Well, the guys that I seen, because their arms were so big, so pumped, it was just like, how could you throw your fucking arm and stuff? So you would, and you know in MMA, the biggest thing back in the day was cardio.
Yeah.
Your cardio, it's why you seen dudes on the treadmill, the battle ropes and everything, which in my opinion, some of it works, but it's bullshit. Right? You want to get body? Spar.
Just spar.
You want to get stronger? Lift. You know what I mean?
Keep it simple.
You wanna have your recovery rate? Go run. You want to drop weight? Go for slow run. Zone 2 cardio, right?
Exactly.
But back in the days, it was like all this extra stuff where it's just like, you know, you're blowing your muscles up to the gills and yeah. So with Canelo, I don't see anything that I've seen of people that I saw on it. Maybe EPO, which is what Lance Armstrong.
But also, when you're that rich, he could be on anything, right?
Bro.
Because someone said this to me, and I think I might have mentioned this on here before, so whatever. But like Canelo, someone said, put yourself in this situation, and it just makes sense. So it's like Canelo earns 30 million plus a fight, right?
Yeah, more than...
More, right? So 30 million's a bad day. So he's rich out of control, right? He's a poor kid from Guadalajara. He's got money coming out of his ass.
And he's ginger.
And he's ginger, and like he's got that ginger hate and everything, right? So anyway, he's there. The USADA or VADA tester turns up at his mansion, right? Probably getting 50 grand a year if he's lucky, maybe less. He's testing piss, right? So what's he getting paid a year? Canelo goes, listen, bro, I'm juiced out of my mind. But there's 200 grand in a bag. You piss in the cup, leave me the fuck alone.
I've
heard stories.
I've heard stories where people have actually, and you know what I mean?
Do you know what I mean? You shut the fuck up, piss in the cup for me, and we'll do it.
Well, look at like TJ Dillashaw and stuff like that. Like,
have you seen him now, by the way?
He's jacked. He's jacked. I'm jealous. Like, fucking look how lean he is, and just. But it still doesn't take away from his skill, man.
No, of course not.
Because everyone was on it.
It goes back to the Lance Armstrong.
Right? Everyone was on it.
Still the best.
Yeah, everyone was on it. TJ, and truth be told, a lot of us wanted to fight like TJ. A lot of guys that I knew went to Alpha Male to go train out there. You know what I mean? It was that fast-paced Dutch-style kickboxing, being able to angle out. It was like with Dominic Cruz, how he was fighting, but it said TJ took it to the next level. You know what I mean? And just
had knockout power with it as well.
Fucking Alpha Male was killing guys, and then you had the Aldos. You know what I mean? I would have loved to seen Aldo and TJ Dillashaw fight.
Great fight to happen, yeah.
Yeah, that would have been a sick fight. You know what I mean?
There's lots of good fights we didn't get, right? Because Aldo fought his prime up in weight, didn't he? And then like when USADA came in, he dropped weight. I don't know what's going on.
I don't speak English.
I don't understand what's going on.
It's like Serena Williams. You know, she hit herself in that because if you don't come out your house, they stay there for hours.
Is that right? So she's just waiting in the house 6 days.
Serena Williams.
I mean, exactly. It goes back to like the Canelo thing where they've got so much money. The house she's got, she can stay in there for a fortnight. She ain't got to come out.
Food in there. There's like an underground.
She's got like a tennis court at the back. She's fine. But I've lost my train. Oh, we was on the
Pereira.
Pereira. So like, if we go back to the light heavyweight and the Khalil Roundtree, do you think he's got a chance there or what?
Yeah, I think Khalil has a puncher's chance, but I think he hasn't done enough. He hasn't done enough.
Because he got popped recently. Do you know that story?
Yeah,
he got like a 2-month ban.
Yeah, but he actually called them and said.
Yeah, because it was a tainted supplement and it was legit.
Yeah.
So it's like he just had a banned substance in him.
I respect.
Yeah, I don't think he did anything wrong.
Nah.
No, he's fine.
Nah,
but
100%.
it's just one of them things, isn't it? It's a shit
and
situation.
it's not like I don't think it'd make it. I think he's strong already. I don't think it'd make a difference if he was on some sort of.
You know what I mean?
It is what it is. So I'm not mad that he got a shot. Fucking, he could do it. Everyone is a puncher's
I just think anyone has got a chance. Of course,
it's the same thing to bring Canelo. So Canelo and Berlanga.
Yeah.
So actually, Berlanga's his mother's from my neighborhood.
Is that right?
Yeah. So I gotta be careful on here. Yeah, support Lower East Side.
Shout out Berlanga.
Shout out.
We'll get you on here one day.
But Berlanga, he's talented. He's big. He's strong. He's not. But has he done enough? I think it's too early.
And there's level. And also, for people that don't know, with Berlanga's record, I'm not sure on the exact numbers, but he was something like 16-0 with 16 first-round knockouts. And then since that, he went all points. So I don't know what's going on there or what the situation is.
The competition was...
Could just be levels, right?
Yeah, it was tough.
And now you're fighting Canelo.
Right. So
trouble.
It's like the Mexican kid, Morenga.
Yeah.
Canelo just fought.
Yeah, just beat,
Same thing. I think Berlanga is
Malinga, I think it's Malinga.
Malinga's the Puerto Rican version of.
Oh, sorry,
Berlanga.
Berlanga's the guy he's fighting now. Malinga who's fought,
Yeah, so Berlanga's the version, Puerto Rican version.
Is he a New York guy?
Yeah, he's from New York. So I believe, I think his dad's from Brooklyn, his mom's from my neighborhood.
Right.
But he used to hang out in my neighborhood. But yeah, I think the same thing. Young, they both almost look alike as well. So big, strong fighter, and here's an opportunity. Why not?
Yeah, why not have a go?
Why not? So I think Khalil Roundtree is a good opportunity for him, but it's the same thing that we're talking about. Pereira's fucking, look, he's beating everybody, bro.
And I think you've got more chance of a puncher's chance, if you like, in MMA, because there's more that's going on. Whereas Canelo-wise, he's got more of a chance of just boxing his head off for 12 rounds, doesn't he? Do you know what I mean? And doing his thing. It could always happen.
Yeah.
But I mean, in MMA, there's more variables, isn't it?
100%. But I think that Plino and Pereira, they're good, man. I think they got a good team. They know exactly. When have you ever seen Khalil's fights? You don't see him taking no one down?
No, ever.
So is he going to take
So we know
down?
that's why I think it's a good fight.
So it's a good fight.
Because I think level-wise, he's going to stand in front of him, and Pereira is probably going to kick him in the face.
So with Khalil could find a way, head movement, angles, create something, or maybe actually pull the wrestling out the back. And this is why I love MMA.
Could you imagine if he just shot a double leg, took him down, like submitted him with Kimura or something?
I think I've seen him in practice. I think when I did train in Black House that time, he does good grappling.
Well, but this is the thing. People that don't train will go like, oh, he's got no grappling. Listen, go and train with him. He's going to still have a good level of grappling, right? All these guys do. They wouldn't be in the UFC.
I mean, Pereira's a black belt.
That's it. And even if he's not a black belt, right, he's going to be purple belt level, isn't he? Do you know what I'm saying? It's one of them things. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I got you. But what I'm saying is, even if he's not, it's like his level's still going to be good.
Still good enough.
You know what I mean?
And if handled guys weight-wise against the cage to be, because who did he fight that was really big? Pereira did fight a really big guy that put him up against the cage.
Blachowicz. Blachowicz put him on.
Yeah. And he's good.
Yeah,
he's
champion. When he was champion before,
he's good. So it's
he trains with Glover Teixeira every day too.
I mean, and
he's a bear of a man.
Glover's jiu-jitsu's top notch.
Proper, yeah.
And people don't realize Glover was Chuck Liddell's sparring partner for years.
Forever.
When Chuck Liddell was knocking people the fuck
out.
Iceman. Yeah, but Iceman, everybody. I didn't want the haircut though.
Nah, you can keep the haircut and the tattoo on the side of your head.
Yeah. That's some California biker shit.
Yeah, that's some hipster shit. That's not for me. But
New York girls wouldn't be feeling that shit. Like, yo, you cute, but I ain't fucking with that.
Yeah, grow your hair out, bitch. Yeah. But you can tell him. I can tell him.
Yeah. Nah. I'll run though. I ain't scared.
That's cool. We can fight. Yeah, especially now. Bless him. Like Chuck Liddell's not doing so well. I don't think, is he?
No.
So okay. Here's what we want, right? I want to see Pereira at heavyweight. You know?
Yeah.
I want to see it.
Aspinall. I want to see him fight Aspinall.
There's so much to unpack here because we've got John Jones fighting Stipe.
Yeah.
Now, you tell me what you think. I think Stipe is at a point now where I don't think he's got a lot of chance against John Jones.
It's weird. I get why John Jones is. I get the whole thing is John Jones has fought the best of the best when everyone was the best.
Yep.
In hindsight, he should fight Tom Aspinall to pass the throne. But for some reason, they feel like he doesn't deserve the opportunity to talk in the same realm.
That's what it is, yeah.
That's what it is.
That's exactly what it is.
That's
it's like that, like I'm above you type.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Is he wrong? I don't think he's wrong, but if you look at the bigger picture, he should fight Tom.
I think he's got to now.
I think he should fight Tom. Yeah. And maybe he is preparing for it.
I think he is. Yeah.
I think he's preparing for it, bro.
I
think he's preparing for it. Yo, you don't bring in fucking Gordon Ryan to help you jiu-jitsu and, you know what I mean, or to see where you're at.
Nah.
I think I think they're waiting it out. I think he was injured. And playing devil's advocate, I think he was really injured. They've been waiting to heal the injury. He's very good with the Twitter fingers, and he knows how to talk, bro. And he's a champ. Like, look at DC. He's fought DC, man. DC. I wish DC would have beat John Jones at least once.
Dude, I don't like DC. Personality's not for me.
It's only because of his story, and as a champion wise, and I'm speaking from like a black man myself, like watching, like John Jones is an example, but DC is the example we needed. You know what I mean? He's a family man.
I hear what you're saying.
He got roped into that shit by John Jones, because John Jones has that sinister thing to him.
What is the famous press conference? Isn't it?
Yeah,
and he's like, well, I'll beat you on a night out on coke, bro.
Yeah,
what do you want?
But this is why he lost. You played him at his own game. You should have stood 10 toes down, the family man. Like, he's lost his daughter. I think he had a daughter. You know, it's a comeback from that to, you know, and like he was instrumental with Khabib and all of them. Like, you see how he coaches the kids. We're talking about example. He's a great, and even John Jones has said it. He's a great example. But I think where he went wrong, you can't, if you're good and you got the light that shines from you, stay with that, my brother. Don't try to dip your toes in evil.
Just be you.
Just be you, right?
And I think John Jones has done that the opposite way. Like, he was trying to be there. Hi, I'm John Jones, top button that up. And it's like, man, just be what you are. You're an animal.
And this is where it started to come out. But I think in some sort of level, you then feel sorry for him and recognize the greatness, because some of the greats had the most fucked up lives or fucked up shit, like, you know, but you still love them. You love the art form.
And that's why I want to see him get out at the right time also.
I don't want to see the old.
I don't want to see him Tony Ferguson. Do you know what I mean? Like, go out on it. Do you know what I'm saying?
That breaks my heart, Tony Ferguson.
But I think he beat Stipe, right? I think I want to see Aspinall fight Pereira in the meantime, but I don't think it's going to happen.
No, I don't think it's going to happen.
It's not going to happen. But then Aspinall fight John Jones. I think John Jones is the greatest of all time. Do you?
Yeah,
we're on board there. And it's like, I looked at that last fight with John Jones. I mean, when he beat Cyril Gane, and it was like, he's the GOAT. Now, And then I saw Aspinall beat his last few opponents, and I thought, hey,
was it Rodriguez? Was it Alex? Spanish kid.
He's beat a few, and he beat Pavlovich, which was the big one, the Russian, right? He's just beat Curtis Blades, and there was one in the middle of that, another Eastern European cat. I can't remember his name.
But it was also his first fight back was a Spanish guy, tall Spanish cat.
Right. Okay. I can't place him. We'll come to it. We'll figure it. But anyway, he's fighting but his last one with Curtis Blades was the first time I was like, he might beat John Jones. He might beat John Jones.
That was quick. I think.
And he's doing it to everyone. It's like time after time after time, he keeps running through them, and I just go,
I think if Aspinall, because we're talking about Aspinall, right?
Yeah,
I think if Aspinall mixes it up, he has to mix it up, and he has to get to John's legs, which John is so good at keeping the distance.
Oh, sorry, we're just talking about the Spanish guy with John Jones.
No, I'm talking about, who are you talking about? Curtis Blade. Who did he fight?
He fought Aspinall fought Curtis Blades.
That fight. Well, I'm talking about with Aspinall, I think he's good everywhere.
Yeah, and he's big.
He's big and he's powerful.
He's fast, athletic, the whole thing, innit?
I can see him getting past John Jones's reach, shooting in, ragdolling him.
Oh, you can ragdoll John Jones?
Because he's stronger, man. He's stronger,
do you think?
bigger.
Because everyone says that about John Jones. DC, again, going back to DC, he said when John Jones grabbed a hold of him, he couldn't believe it.
But Aspinall's bigger than John Jones and younger.
Of course, yeah, he is.
Yeah. In terms of if I look at him actually beating him, that's how I would see it.
Do you know what I think will happen? Either way.
Yeah.
And comment below, please. Tell me what you think.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a first round finish one way or the other. I think either John Jones gets him like he did the same way he did in his last fight against Cyril Gane, where you just go, oh yeah, of course, it's John Jones, he's the man. Or Tom Aspinall could just run him over like he has to the others, and you go, man.
I think,
Because if he runs through John Jones, let's be real, no one's ever going to beat him. Who the fuck's going to beat that guy?
No one.
No one's going to beat him.
I don't think there's a heavyweight.
Even in Ngannou, if you bring him back, I just go,
nah, Ngannou I think is, if Ngannou can,
he's had a hard time though, and he's lost his son.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm like, how'd you come back from that?
And he got knocked out in boxing. I know it's boxing, but he still got knocked out. He still took it. Still took the damage.
And the thing is, it's like, does he blame his career? Does he blame all that? Like, that's a lot to handle.
And he's got a story. You know his story,
his story's crazy.
And he's now, how rich is he now from the Saudi money? So that changes a lot. You've been digging
and he's
mines
about his
in
family.
Africa.
Yeah, he's about family. So now he has enough money to support them. And surely enough, Like, man, Saudi money's good, man.
He's got enough money to support his kids.
Like,
ain't gonna worry.
Because they're eating rice patties and shit. They're not, buying Rolexes and nothing.
They don't care.
He wears that Jacob watch that's like 2-3 million. It's like, yeah, it's nice.
It's okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Tells the time.
You know what I mean? It tells the time, yeah. And Ghana I would have loved to have seen that fight. That would have been like Godzilla versus King Kong type of match.
That would have been a mad fight, yeah.
But yeah, it's just the business-wise. I think with Aspinall and John Jones, it only works in Aspinall's favor.
I do, yeah.
It only works in his favor.
I do. Pereira, does he have a chance up there?
With John Jones?
With any of them? John Jones, Aspinall's, any of them?
Yeah, I think those are. I think Pereira's the fun fight for both.
I want to see it.
I want to see because the reason why is the X factor is the fucking the striking.
Yeah.
Because John Jones is a guy that I think he would want to test himself against Pereira.
Yeah.
So he would hang with him a little bit until then it's like, all right, we had enough of this. And then I think Tom has he's fast.
He's good everywhere as well.
Good everywhere. How would he mix it up? I'm interested to know how would he mix it up against Pereira. But then Pereira, I'm sure he's training everything. I know they're preparing for everything. You know what I mean? They're not just. It's like Mayweather. A lot of people look at Mayweather. They think that this man doesn't train. I knew people like Zab Judah's brother and all of them. Like, the man trains.
Like a dog, apparently. Like, of all the things.
Everyone has a cell phone part of the team. They show up at the gym 2-3 in the morning.
Well, apparently he's been at strip clubs and stuff.
Yeah,
and
but does he drink?
He just calls his guy over, whispers in the ear, gets his shit and goes running. And then comes back.
Yeah, and they follow him behind. So it's like,
and then goes back to the strip club. Just chills.
Bro, you can't be on that top of the game for that long and like, to bring it to boxing or whatever, to Mayweather. Look at Diego Corrales he beat.
He beat everybody.
He beat everybody. Listen, watch all his old fights. He put the work in.
Yeah.
He fought the best Mexicans, the best black guys.
And the thing that's impressive
and was knocking them down.
And he's undefeated, right? There's a couple with the Corrales first one and Maidana first one that are a bit questionable.
Yeah.
And especially the Maidana one, I go, I think he might have lost that.
Don't forget the Cotto one,
so
the Cotto fight, right?
But also it's the rematch. When he comes back and he fights Corrales and Maidana in the rematch, you go, he got you now.
Yeah, of course.
Now that's
but
how
you know
great
what he does,
is.
Right? So with the Cotto fight, and he says Cotto was my hardest fight.
He said, I heard that.
He said Cotto was my hardest fight, right? Look at when he's walking back to life. You never seen Mayweather bleed.
No.
His nose was bloody.
Yeah.
You know what? That's why he brought back his dad.
Yeah, of course it is.
To help his defense.
Yeah. He ain't a stupid man.
He ain't stupid.
No, he might be able to read, but he ain't stupid.
And truth be told, Cotto was still undefeated because he fought Margarito with the loaded gloves.
That's
I remember watching an interview because Puerto Ricans always know about all the Puerto Rican fighters like Trinidad. So like with Cotto's dad, rest in peace, he was like, yo, I never seen a man take that much punishment. He was pissing blood. Yeah. He was pissing blood at the end of the fucking fight.
And people don't realize that.
And took that beating. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then when he went and fought fucking what was it? Sugar Shane Mosley. The blocks fell out his and then Sugar Shane was like, we still gonna go anyway because Sugar Shane was getting through a divorce.
Yeah, that's it.
So and then whooped his
and whooped him, didn't he? Hurt him bad.
Like, if anybody, I was surprised. Like Sugar Shane, I mean, Sugar Shane was good, but Margarito was a monster.
And he nearly knocked out Mayweather as well.
Yeah. He was
twice with the shot. Then he caught him once. Well, he caught him once and he kind of wobbled him. He caught him the second time.
He did the Russian tie-up.
He buckled and it was like proper. But that, again, Mayweather won every second of the fight after that.
After it, you know what I mean?
That's how great he was. Yeah, exactly.
And having a good corner that gives you instructions.
Exactly.
Not just going, you can do it. Come on, Ali, I believe in you. Come on. Think about your mom.
Do you remember the famous one, the BJ Penn one, where his brother was in there going, come on, BJ, do it for Hilo. It's like, bro, he might need a bit of technical advice.
Yeah, but because he was so great, it was like, who's going to tell him anything is BJ Penn.
They're all scared of him, aren't they? They're all in the corner like...
He was another one, like, I didn't like seeing the way his career went.
No, he had a time and a place. And again, it's a bit like Tony Ferguson, can't win a fight for love or money.
Oh, my God, Tony Ferguson,
Tony Ferguson's a tough one to watch, isn't it?
But when you look at Tony Ferguson, right, it looks like, you know, have you seen the scary movies where they see the ghost and then their body just looks flush? Yeah. It's sort of like, you know what I mean? Like,
it's over.
It's sad because it was like, I feel like, yo, take care of the fighters that actually make the difference. Like, had they given him the right fights at the right time, and it's almost like, because he was so willing to do everything, he lost the opportunity.
What happened there, do you think? Do you think he just got, was it as simple as he got old or did Gaethje punch it out of him?
I think some of the fights took his life out of him.
I think the Gaethje one changed it.
Yeah.
I think the Gaethje fight. If you watch that fight properly, he was hurting there bad.
It's like Rory McDonald versus Robbie Lawler.
Oh, one of the best fights you'll ever see.
But that killed Rory McDonald.
Did, exactly. And he was only young then.
But then look, when he went to the PFL, what happens? He went in the cage and said, I don't have it anymore.
I don't have it anymore.
And what was he known for? Look at all the first UFCs. He was GSP's main sparring partner. killer.
He was the heir to the throne, wasn't he? Everyone was saying this is the guy.
They said, look at his eyes. Joe Rogan, look at his, he's a killer. And then now to like,
but it's like Rocky said, sometimes they get civilized too, don't they? Like he had the house, he's rich,
he had the kids and stuff like that.
Changed
and
you,
like,
didn't it?
And you got to go with that flow, man. It's just, I just think that's when your coaches and your team should go, listen, let's get the last hurrah, let's go up on a high, and then let's walk away from it. You know what I mean? Because some people are meant to go further than that, and that's the one thing, since being around it so long, you see guys stick around longer than what they should. You know what I mean?
And that's hard to see as well, isn't it?
It breaks my heart.
Yeah,
man.
it's tough, but that's what it is, isn't it? That's what it is.
Like, yeah, like I'm one of the toughest guys, you know, but I'm emotional as shit. And just like, I always want to see people save face, and I want to see people come home and live a good life.
Yeah.
Even if you did me wrong, I want to see you happy, and I'll pray for you.
It's over,
it's over, you know, but I never want to see guys, you know, knowing that they shouldn't be in there. That's why, like, if I actually felt that I was really old and stuff, I'd be like, they'd be like, you gonna fight again? Hell no, I'm only gonna fight this duvet. That's it, baby.
Yeah.
But like, you know, and I'll ask her like, yo, that seems slow. Do I say, you know, be real with me? And they're like, nah, man, you don't.
They're like, what? I can't understand you. Yeah.
I'm like, let's go to training, but one more round.
We're
you
know
what I mean? And it's just good having a good team around you and a good support system. Nice. I think with that, you could take over the world. You know what I mean?
Nice.
So
and before we finish up here, you're from New York, so I can't let you go without talking about my fight hero, who's from New York. You probably know what I'm going to say. Who am I going to say?
No, you got to tell me.
Mike Tyson. Come on, man.
Oh, fucking Mike Tyson.
Where are you from in relation to Mike Tyson?
So Mike Tyson.
He's from Brooklyn.
Yeah, so
Brownsville, sorry.
Yeah, so Brownsville never ran, never will. So,
is that right?
So Brownsville, just to give y'all like Brooklyn was nothing to fuck with when Mike Tyson was coming up. And Zab Judas from the same place.
Well, that little place as well, you got Shannon Briggs and Riddick Bowe too, right?
Yeah.
Three heavyweight champions.
All in the same vicinity and stuff. And Brownsville was a place back in the days before I think it got gentrified, where they used to shoot at cops.
Yeah.
And like the gangsters and everything else. So Mike came up around a time when you had to kill or be killed, you know what I mean?
And to touch on that as well, if you see the photos of him, you've seen the photo of him when he's 13 years old in his book.
Yeah. Just fucking
look that up. 13 years old Mike Tyson. There's a photo of him like this, and he looks like he's about 28.
Neck looks like a refrigerator. The size of
incredible freak.
Mike meant everything to us, man, because it was like when you come from New York, you don't only represent your borough, like you represent all of us that have nots. You know what I mean? I suppose it's almost like in England, the UK, we get behind Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury and stuff. And Mike Tyson to be at that level and just to smash everybody. I've seen him one time in Gleason's.
Up close.
And I was just, and then the rest of the times was like in clubs and stuff. But in Gleason's, it was like, I just felt like a kid that just saw a ghost. Like I was just like, I couldn't stop staring. It just, everything, what you see on TV and then in person during that time when he was Tyson. And I think this was the time I seen him when he came out of jail. So he had all the tattoos and everything else.
Well, he's huge here too. He came to Brixton when he came out of jail.
Yeah.
Because he fought in the UK, he fought in Manchester, and he fought in Glasgow. And the famous fight, I don't know if you know Julius Francis. Do you know this one?
Yeah.
They sponsored the bottom of his shoes. Do you know this story? They came in the change room beforehand, and the Mirror newspaper at the time wanted to sponsor the bottom of his shoes because they knew he was going down. And at the fight when he got knocked down like 5 or 6 times, and they showed the shoes, famous fight. But he's massive, like here. You know what I mean? But he's like, for me, Mike Tyson, and you tell me what you think, someone from New York. I think in his prime, short window, but in his prime, he was the best heavyweight champion of all time.
100%. Yeah, by far. I mean, we can always say, how would he fare against the other heavyweights when it was different times.
I think he'd have beat them all at his peak.
Yeah. He just would have needed a good game plan, but you're talking about...
Sort of 86, 87, 88.
Now, we're talking about guys like Foreman.
Yep.
I don't know. If you ever met Foreman in person, Foreman's hands are the size of your fucking foot. Like it's like lunch boxes.
Yeah.
Like, and that was for me, like when you watch Foreman, the Rumble in the Jungle, that's the fight that took the life force away from Muhammad Ali. Because after that, he wasn't the same.
Nah, yeah, it's true.
I mean? So Tyson against a Foreman, I mean, everyone has a chance, but his era, ain't nobody was beating him.
No one. And the thing that hurts me, and comment below, because I want opinions on this, and obviously I'm English, Lennox Lewis is English. Lennox Lewis beat Mike Tyson when he was older, and Lennox Lewis said on Joe Rogan podcast, I did beat him in his prime. And it's like, bro, you're better than that, bro.
No,
because for me, and I said this to my friend who's a big Lennox Lewis fan recently, I said, in his prime, I don't think he could have lasted 4 rounds with Tyson. He was tailor-made for Tyson.
Not when Customato was around.
There you go.
When Customato was around, you weren't beating Tyson. Customato was Einstein of boxing. He dedicated his life to Tyson. I mean, what was it? He put books in his rucksack to keep him
growing,
to stop him growing, to keep that. I mean, call it what you want, old school, but the fact that he kept him a small heavyweight on purpose, and then Cuss had Jack Johnson, the first fucking big heavyweight. You know what I mean? Like, so he had the knowledge base, and when you have knowledge, and then you have the most powerful fucking car on the racetrack, there was no one with Cuss. There was no one beating him. And I think, with Lennox Lewis, you didn't beat the best Mike Tyson.
No. Well, there's stories of when they sparred when they were 17. Have you heard this story?
Yeah, I have.
And like, there's a documentary. You can look this up, guys. Legendary Nights, I think it's called. And they show the fight and they show the background. But in this, it's at a time where Lennox Lewis, or Beyond the Glory, sorry, it's Beyond the Glory.
Yeah, Beyond the Glory.
Beyond the Glory. Beyond the Glory. And it's at a time where Lennox Lewis is honest. It's before they fought. And he's talking about it, and he's like, Tyson beat the shit out of him. And he didn't want to fight him. And it was like, this was honest Lewis before he got,
It doesn't make any sense. I mean, deep down in your heart, like...
You must know.
Yeah,
you know.
You want to, you actually want to say that in public, you know what I mean? When it's just...
I don't like it. I don't like it.
Nah, just be honest.
To me, that made me go, come on, Lennox, man.
But look at it. No one really checks for Lennox Lewis.
No, they don't.
Look at Tyson, more famous than he fucking ever was.
And I'll tell you what computes to me. Do you know Joe Kozagi, right?
Yeah.
Undefeated Welsh.
Yeah.
He beat Roy Jones at the end of
I remember that. That was tough for us.
Tough for us. But to me, Roy Jones is the best pound-for-pound fighter to ever live. We can get into that if you want to. But like Kozagi, why I respect Kozagi more than what Lennox said about Tyson is Joe Kozagi said, like, I didn't beat Roy at his best, but he was still pretty good, Roy. I think I could have beat him at his best. Yeah. Now that's fair to me.
That is fair, and I respect that.
That's cool.
Honesty, because even when you lose, they still won. Because Roy Jones is still relevant. Joe Kozaki, you don't hear much of.
Yeah.
So I figure if you try to steal a moment from someone and you're not honest with it, along the line they still surpass you.
Yeah.
So you may have a blemish on their record, but in life they're still winning. They're still relevant.
Well,
you know what I mean? You still see them out there. Like Tyson is still here.
Legend, isn't he?
It almost like his career did very well, but he has more of an impact for young men, mental health, and to see that and how the human in him. You know what I mean? And how even when he cries, bro, he's still tough. And you just go, well, he's went through that, then I can talk and say this because I think it's important as fighters or as role models, and we're talking about martial arts because boxing is martial arts.
Of course, yeah.
And I think that after martial arts, there's still a trail to be led where we let the young guns have their moment, but then there's still work to be done. And I think because we have a name for it, martial arts, and we can cultivate it in just society, there'd be less men killing themselves. There'd be less men, not being good husbands or being angry walking around because we then have different people, different things, and we can look after each other because community, man.
Yeah, I got you, man. I hear you.
You know what I mean? So for me, Tyson, he took away Brownsville and that New Yorkness and everything that he's been through, and now he's on a bigger stage. And then take what you want from him, whether it's the sound bites on Instagram. There's always something that you go, bro, look at Rocky, look at Sylvester Stallone. You think Rocky's a real fighter? You know what I mean?
I think he probably got more people into boxing than any real fighter, didn't he?
Bro, if you've never listened to the soundtrack or watched that movie before training camp, you're not a real fighter.
Firstly, don't follow this podcast because you're not welcome here.
Yeah. Like, it's insane. And it's a love story, bro.
Of course it is, yeah. Rocky, if you don't love Rocky, what are you doing with yourself? Come on.
I mean,
come on, bro.
The old ones, like fucking when Mickey says, when he says that we win, but he loses the fight and stuff, and like self-belief, your woman believing in you. Like, look at the movies, right? Watch Rocky and watch every time that Adrian says, just win, the music starts playing, and that's it. Training camp is amazing.
He's going to win now.
So I always thought I had to have a girl in my life, man. Like, I'm still looking for Adrian. If you know any Adrians out there, send them my way.
Well, send them my way first. And if it don't work out, then you can have a go.
All right. Unless they're twins, then
Favorite Rocky film before we close up?
Ivan Drago.
Ivan Drago,
yeah.
Man. All right.
The reason being,
mine was Mr. T.
It was, but the Ivan Drago one was because he had the friendship with Apollo, and they fought.
Yeah.
So I felt like to see them go through their bits, and then.
But he did Mr. T too. He trained him for that one.
He did, but then.
He dies. He dies.
Right. So then when you lose something,
I get
chips
you.
are down.
They're both good.
Adrian
it's
said
A1 and A2.
Adrian said
right?
you're gonna lose. She was like, you can't win. You see them. So no one believed in you.
And it's again, she shows up in Russia.
Then where the fuck
and the music starts.
Then Mickey's dead. Apollo's dead. Wife don't believe in you. You're by yourself. That's the greatest one because now he has to actually dig fucking deep. And then there's no sparring partners. He's running up in the mountains. So you're with minimal. He had to fight the biggest fucking opponent.
Do you know what we might have to do off the back of this? We might have to get a Rocky watch along again.
We'll
both be crying watching it.
I'll talk like, you all right?
Yeah, I'm right, man. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm not crying you are.
Carlin is hardest.
Yeah, I'm not crying you are, bro. All right, man. Before I let you go, we always, for a bit of fun at the end, I always ask people their football team. Now, bear in mind the area we're in. Bear in mind the area we're in. And because we're in, I'm a bit of a, not a baseball fan, but
yeah. Nah, see,
shout out the Giants. I'm a Giants fan because I went to a couple of games out there. So we go for American sports first.
Okay.
NFL team?
Oh, fuck. I'm a New York Giants.
Okay, cool. Baseball team?
New York Yankees.
Cool. Yeah.
We got the best colors and just
basketball team.
Basketball team.
You gotta say Bulls, bro. Come on.
Yeah, then I'm gonna say because I would say when I go with the Knicks, Chicago Bulls. When
yes,
Jordan was
sir.
playing.
Yes, exactly. That was my era when I was in primary school.
Yeah.
And who's your favourite football team?
Football team. Oh, fuck.
I'll give you a hint. The right answer plays in blue. They're close to here and they start with C.
Okay, Chelsea.
Hey, my man. Good stuff.
Yes, sir.
So anything you want to plug, mate, before we finish up?
Nah, nothing, bro. Just follow my man's journey, man.
Appreciate you, man. We'll put links for Richie, anything he wants in the description below anyway. But Richie, my man, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it, man.
Thank you so much,
When we finish, always stick the fist up like this. Squeeze the neck. Boom!